is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you might have missed this morning. But we also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 11th of November 2019 and I am 2J.
I am Tuam.
And I am GK, and in case you missed the headlines, here they are. Daily Nation, RUTO, Raila in war of words over violence. In the Star, Raila unveils new alliance ahead of 22. And the Standard, BBI keeps counties, reduces MPs to 210.
Yes.
Wow. So we have a war of words.
Absolutely.
What happened here?
Over the weekend, RUTO was somewhere in Rift Valley, and he was very angry at what happened in KIBRA to him and his allies, because they were flashed out by KIBRA goons. I'm telling you, those guys were beating up MPs, checking their hearts, you know. And I said to myself, this is improper, because even if we go into a parliamentary system, and Raila Odinga is Prime Minister today and is deposed tomorrow, the KIBRA people will just wake up and start...
Be up in arms. Well, it was interesting. DP has taken on this new tactic of tweeting his rage at every moment. I commend him for it.
Maybe he's taking a page out of Donald Trump's book.
He sure is. And he literally said, Mr. Odinga is sort of like this merchant of violence in KIBRA. And so he was like, you need to... As you fix your bedroom, you need to keep them in check.
I think what's most worrying for me is that it's 2019 and we're seeing violence already. And I think that if this is almost 2 and a bit years out and this is what's happening, it's quite scary for what's going to happen in the election.
And the thing is DP without a point? KIBRA, for any, even to engage in that space, you need to talk to the community gatekeepers, These guys have been governing and self-governing themselves for a while.
Absolutely.
Gangs and militias are a very real thing. And they're often used for political...
gain purposes.
Exactly. Well, we do have a 3-part criteria that we use. We ask ourselves, is it topical or speculative? Is it repetitive or groundbreaking? And is it thoughtful or just plain lazy?
I think it's a good headline.
I like the words over the war of words.
Over violence,
Nice play.
All right.
In the Star, Raila unveils new alliance ahead of 22. So I think they're talking about 2022.
Yes, absolutely.
The purported election date.
Yes.
Assuming things remain constant.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so here basically there was a Thanksgiving rally where
in KIBRA yesterday.
where Raila addressed the constituents, thanking them for their votes. But he also pointed out that Kenyans are yearning for change. He said that votes can no longer be bought, which was, I think, a deliberate dig at the deputy president. This same article proposes that Raila has hit it big. So basically, there were a lot of people that stood with him. You have the Ukambani trio of Alfred Mutua, Ngilu, and Kibwana. You have James Nyoro of Kiambu. You have Maina Kamanda, Joshua Kutuni. So all these guys who are sort of known to have been Jubilee allied, sort of shifting goalposts. Someone even said, I think it was Kamanda, that this will dictate politics for the next 50 years.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so, I think what was interesting for me is if we do enter a parliamentary system, this business of you being Jubilee but aligning yourself with someone else, it's not going to stand.
Party loyalty
party loyalty is so important because you are an MP in that party and that is how you're supposed to stay. So if you see more nonsense like this, it's get out. You either become an independent or you lose your seat. So people need to figure themselves out.
They sure do. Shall we keep it? Or
I think it's a bit of a boring headline.
And it's also quite speculative or presumptuous actually, right?
Absolutely.
I think we toss it.
In the Standard, BBI keeps counties but reduces MPs to 210. What does this mean?
So
how did they know?
Okay, so they say that they have multiple sources who spoke to the Standard. I don't know who these sources are, but there seem to be a lot of these leaks over the weekend. I saw a pyramid the other day talking about what the structure of government will be and who the key people will, what their positions will be. But here they talk about how the BBI report that they say should come out by end of today.
We're still waiting.
So they talk about how they're going to reduce the constituencies from 290 to 210. Which I thought was quite curious because we've already found out that 24 did not meet the threshold. And they said there's another totaling now to 40 that will not meet the threshold, which means we have to look for an additional 60 constituencies to meet that 210 to 290 gap.
Yeah.
They also said that there's going to be 2 women reps voted in from the 47 constituencies, which will bring all the women reps to 94 and will solve the issue of the 2/3 gender rule.
Well, I'm all for positive affirmative action.
Yeah.
Does not feel the same.
In this country that are very useless.
And women rep is one of
them. Wow.
Nominated MCAs.
That is true. However, Prof did point out to us that this article is assuming that we're going to have a parliamentary system with proportional representation.
Absolutely.
However, there is a chance that the BBI report or the conversations that follow this report might suggest a non-constituency parliamentary system.
Absolutely.
And essentially that means that you're elected on the strength of your party, not on your constituency. So constituencies won't matter. You have the party list, and if you get a number of votes,
you're allocated those
seats
as a party.
So it would work this way. Like Moses Kuria would not be MP for Gatundu.
Exactly. It would just be.
So Jubilee would present a list of MPs with probably Moses Kuria's name there as one of those people who would be.
And so I think the benefit of going with that non-constituency system is that it takes us away from tribal politics and more into party politics. So you have to actually present an ideological point of view.
A strong party.
Yeah, that's what South Africa have.
It's a beautiful system, but I don't think our Kenyan minds will
are ready for it.
We're not ready for that.
Well, change is never easy or smooth.
Absolutely.
What do we say about the 2?
I think we toss this headline because the report's not come out yet.
It's speculative.
Completely.
Speculative. So there we have it. The Daily Nation gives us our winning headline.
Absolutely.
Onto the political pieces that we call cartoons, where we also have a 3-part criteria. We ask ourselves, is it humorous or dry? Is it satirical or pessimistic? And is it effective or just plain lazy?
Yes.
The standard.
Gado has Lady Justice drawn over, and she's been blindfolded as she should.
As she should be.
But her mouth has been, what is it called?
Stifled, muffled.
Muffled. And the person muffling her, the people muffling her are 2. One is the executive, the second is Parliament.
Yeah.
And I think this is this is with regard to last week's happenings, where Maraga came out to say that he cannot be given an S500.
But then he eventually was given it.
He was given everything. Even those budget cuts that he was anticipating will happen were not.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic cartoon. I just think it's a little too late. And I think if we actually look, Gado's little guy who's normally on the side, he says, with apology to Bruce McKinnon, and we know that Gado constantly gives credit to people who he borrows from. And so Bruce McKinnon, it's a replica of his cartoon called The Rape of The Rape of Justice. So he's a Canadian cartoonist. And so I think it's in reference to that. And that's actually what I saw first and foremost.
When you saw this,
it looked like it was the rape of Lady Justice.
I think, the commentary is important. Is an important one to have. For me, the judiciary is the people's toolkit, right? So if someone is prevailing upon it and it's not, doing its mandate, that worries me as an average citizen, right? So maybe what we need is a new theory of government, something.
Let me tell you,
something to balance the 3 again.
I think the quality of Chief Justice would need to be different, because I have never seen in any dispensation in the world a Chief Justice coming out to say that he's not been given an S500.
But
also, like I said, I think
his name has not been announced in national functions.
I think you see, people took it out of context. I think the wider thing, and that's what I've been saying on the table, is the judiciary needs to be able to fulfill its mandate, even for the success of the other branches of government. It needs to do its job.
Separation of powers is critical.
And I hear you, but what has changed from last week to now?
He got his money back.
It was never taken away from him.
Okay, guys, are we tossing or keeping?
I think it's a fantastic cartoon. I think we put it in the parking bay. Let's look at the Star.
So in the Star, we have a new artist.
His name is Celeste.
Welcome, Celeste.
Celeste, and a caricature of himself, DPP Nurdin Haji. And he is a mortician, and he is examining a dead person from the KIBRA by-election.
The body is called Bedroom Affair.
And the sheet that covers it is KIBRA by-election, and is holding up some pieces of paper, and
it says allegations.
Absolutely.
So I think it's the war of words between RUTO and Raila, who caused the violence, who caused the mayhem, who harassed individuals. I like the way Celeste has drawn Haji. Very good caricature.
Unfortunately, I think that's about it.
That's about it,
I think Celeste, welcome to Winning Headlines. This doesn't cut it.
And then we have
finally Iga
and his textbook drawings. I'll describe it. It's a drawing of 3 people queuing up to register. And they're registering at the International Conference on Population and Development. And under the carpet they're working on issues.
Urban crime, slums.
Growing number of sweet families, slums, urban crime. This thing just again, a dustbin. Can I throw it for you?
All right.
Again, pessimistic, but the context there is that there's a conference happening in Nairobi. It's the first one since 1994 that's being held. The last one was held in Cairo 25 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
Should be a positive
outlook
conference, and it's called, the theme actually is accelerating the promise. So sort of building on the gains of universal healthcare, gender-based violence, blah, blah, blah.
Pessimistic cartoon.
I know. However, guys, on the weekend, there was a very funny cartoon by Ndula. And basically, there was Raila in a bed holding baby Imran Okoth.
He's just given birth.
And he had like a blue ribbon. It was very cute. And then on one side we had Anne Waigoro holding some balloons and a bottle. And on the other side we have Uhuru Kenyatta, sort of like a father and mother situation.
He is a father. Anne Waigoro is a midwife.
Is a midwife.
She's a midwife because she's holding the munyonyi.
Yes.
The bottle.
And basically the caption was mother and child doing well. And I think this should be our winning cartoon.
I agree. I think Gado's was great, but it was a bit late, so we toss it.
So there you go, Daily Nation from the weekend giving us our winning cartoon. What is our final thought?
And now our final thought. It's inspired by a book entitled Peeling Back the Mask, but by our Canadian general, Miguna Miguna, a person who Prof writes very elegantly.
Yeah. I don't know if I agree.
No, I agree with Prof.
So Peeling Back the Mask, A Quest for Justice in Kenya by Miguna Miguna, written in 2012. We actually hope he's not watching right now, so we don't become victims of his tweeting rants.
Miguna watches
us live from Canada.
Come baby, come.
So at the time when this book was coming out, it was actually one of the most anticipated book releases in Kenyan history, I believe. I know a lot of people got the PDFs. Then it leaked. So the book leaked before anybody got the physical copies. Absolutely. So we thank the internet for the version we read today. So this book was written 1 year after Miguna was suspended as senior advisor to the then Prime Minister Raila Odinga.
Absolutely.
And Miguna, according to his Wikipedia, which I think he edits himself, he is a Kenyan-born Canadian author, columnist, attorney, and revolutionary intellectual. 100% he edited it himself. So this book covers 2 things that I think we're going to talk about. One is his early childhood, his arrest and torture as a student activist, and then his exile in Kenya, and then his return thereafter.
Absolutely.
And the second thing is his exposing, I'm going to quote him, his exposing of Raila Odinga as a selfish, confused, hypocritical, and deceptive leader whose greed for power and money makes him unfit for the presidency of the Republic of Kenya.
Wow.
He has a way with words, doesn't he?
He sure does.
So this book is split into 8 parts. But what I really think is that this book is 3 parts memoir and 5 parts Raila rant. So I think it's not really an autobiography of any sort.
Absolutely.
So I think I'll just give a bit of background for Miguna for some of the people who might not know a lot about him. So for those of you who don't know, he started out as a political activist when he was a student activist or student leader at the University of Nairobi. So he became a student leader in 1986, but he was then detained by President Arap Moi and expelled from the University of Nairobi for advocating for multi-party democracy in Kenya. So when he was eventually released, after he was released, he says that it was his time in prison that forced him to wear glasses because of the torture that he endured while in cell.
He could have gone through the same torture Raila went through because there was a bright light that was put in the middle of the cell.
Exactly, those torture mechanisms that were used. So eventually when he was released, he fled the country, passing through Tanzania, Swaziland, Switzerland, and eventually landing himself in Canada, where he completed his undergraduate and master's law degree. So he remained in Canada from 1988 with under political asylum until 2007, when he returned to Kenya for the 2007 general election. So upon the formation of the Grand Coalition, which was between President Kibaki and Raila Odinga in 2009, Miguna was appointed as special advisor to the office of the Prime Minister. However, in 2011, we know this part, he was suspended for gross misconduct. To this day, I think he does not know he was not actually told the details of that suspension. So this suspension was soon undone by President Kibaki, which Miguna terms as a half-hearted reinstatement that he then rejected. So then we see him again running for the governor of Nairobi in 2017 and losing, unfortunately. But then we see his life go full circle. So he writes this tell-all, this scathing book about Raila, and then in 2018 we see him being the person who swears Raila in as the second
people's president.
The people's president of Kenya. So it's quite interesting how in 5 years he manages to go full circle to become besties.
From snitching to
benefiting.
You know, I think they should actually have a Netflix thing on Miguna Miguna, and totally based on 2007-2008. This man was the gatekeeper to Raila Odinga then, all right? But I actually think he was a little bit distasteful to him, especially describing personal events that could have happened, especially where Raila was you know, he was a victim. And I want to describe one of those things. February 2008, I can't remember the date. ODM think tanks and luminaries are meeting somewhere. And Raila Odinga enters the room and the guy starts crying. And he cries and he says, "Please never take me back to Kibaki. I never want to see that."
Wait, who's crying?
Raila's crying.
As described in the book, not my words. All right? And he cries and he cries. Now, Miguna is sitting right next to Salim Lone. And Salim Lone says, "Did you see that?" Raila cried. It's like, yes, nobody expected that a man that big, bigger, larger than life would ever cry. But one thing Miguna also describes is the power dynamic between Raila Odinga and Mwai Kibaki. And Mwai Kibaki had this strength behind him. The guy sat in meetings and never moved, all right? And also, there is a memo that that Miguna speaks of about Francis Mudaura, giving it to all cabinet ministers and including the Prime Minister. You know what he wrote in that memo?
What did he write?
That the Prime Minister of the Republic of Kenya, his work is to supervise and coordinate government functions only under the authority of the President. Now, this is a head of civil service telling the Prime Minister how to behave. But there is also one thing here. Mudaura then was running government, right? And there's something that Miguna wrote about Kibaki's behavior and how he was able to subdue Raila. And allow me to read it, right? And he says, "We tried to save Raila from Kibaki, but he had constantly fallen back into the lion's jaws. Nothing could restrain, discipline, or teach Raila a lesson. Contrary to popular myth, Kibaki was a more focused one. He never wavered, never veered off his script. Kibaki was tough as a nut. When he said no, he meant it. He rarely said yes during negotiations. He took and took. He rarely gave."
Wow, interesting. You know? I think everyone, you know, went for this book because of all these tidbits. I mean, and they're things that could possibly be very, very true.
Absolutely.
So he says, I don't know.
Including the crying.
Including the crying. So in the end of his book, he terms his epilogue Project Kenya. And it's sort of how he sums up his philosophy, how he is the way he is, right? And he says his guiding philosophy is that struggle demands sacrifices, without which victory cannot be guaranteed. His calling has been to serve the public, and he says that in his role as PM advisor, he had a very difficult role because he had to speak that truth to power. He had to tell the PM things that he may not necessarily want to hear. And he says that anyone who's working in public office, that's
part of your job.
Part of your job, right? So he says he survived purely based on self-confidence, and I actually don't doubt that. Right? He said discipline, resourcefulness, and he calls himself, you know, coming from a peasant upbringing to where he was then, right? But interestingly, in the epilogue, he gives this story where he likens himself to Tom Joseph Mboya, right? And he says that those guys were mistaken. The fate that befell them was their foolishness, right? So he says that despite being an exceptional thinker, tactician, and what else? Mboya was allowed, you know, his ravenous hunger. So he basically says that because he was so politically hungry and wanted to dismantle Jaramogi and show everyone how brilliant he was, he exposed himself, right? And so according to Miguna, Mboya betrayed the most fundamental rule of power. Always conceal your intentions, but never waver in your quest or ambition. So Miguna suggested in Mboya's world class, that dismantling of Jaramogi, he thought that presidency would just be delivered delivered to him. And the reason why Ouko and Boya befall the same fate is because they outshine their masters, essentially, right?
Absolutely.
And so
but Miguna did not.
He did not. So Miguna believes that he could have suffered the similar fate, but what saved him was his acute sense of survival.
He's a revolutionary intellectual.
Yes, and his outspokenness, right? So he also says that if he were to die, he would not die on his knees or in a bed. He would die standing up.
Okay.
So full of
bravado,
right?
Allow me to. Okay.
Sure, but he also gives one more story. I'll be quick. And he says that he stopped trusting Raila in 2007.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because he took up
the role of advisor in 2009.
Exactly. He says that during the post-election crisis, he watched and was in shock when Raila gave this address at a press conference in a 5-star hotel, saying how a general will not meet his troops at the front line.
Yes.
And so he says, he describes in the book that he was sitting with Salim Lone, Sarah Eldekin, and Professor Oyugi, and they were all baffled at why the general was not
with his troops.
In solidarity with his troops. And he says that is the moment he realized that he was dealing with a delusional character infused with a sense of entitlement.
What?
Yes. And then he went and likened Raila's press conference at the 5-star hotel to Saddam Hussein in that hall. You know the famous image of Saddam Hussein hiding? Yes, that's what he pretending to be brave.
Let me ask you guys a question.
Yeah.
This is a man who, this book was published, what, 2014?
2012.
Yeah. And then 2017, he comes back to Kenya, runs for governor, and at the tail end of the election, decides to support the man who he does not trust, who he has called all manner of names. Now, you know, when I look back at this this thing, at this book, I say, Miguna probably created Raila in his own image, or wanted to create Raila in his own image. And because he couldn't do it, then he got angry. I don't know. There's some dynamic and relationship there that those two know and others don't.
Yeah, that's quite possible.
Quite possible. So on a day where we had a winning headline from the Daily Nation and a throwback cartoon from The Weekend by the Daily Nation as well, by Dula. I want to leave you with some quote from Miguna Miguna. It's not a bad one, guys. The general says, struggle demands sacrifices, without which victory cannot be guaranteed. Whenever these sacrifices are made, nobody can tell with precision how it will all end. But end it always does, with victory on the side of justice.
He does sound like a general.
And he has poetic words.
General. Viva.
Anyway, so please subscribe to our YouTube channel and find us on TV. We're on GoTV, Pang Free to Air, and Star Times. Have a good evening.